I caught my mom cheating on my dad, so I took a picture of them together and sent it to my dad. Hello, Reddit I plus here. I grew up adoring my mom, thinking she was some kind of angel. Protective, kind, beautiful. She had it all. She was smart, successful, and everything I aspired to be. But in the last 3 years, I've come to see her for what she truly is. A selfish, manipulative sociopath. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you've spent 25 years worshipping the ground she walked on. It's strange how you don't really know your parents until you're an adult. But once you do, it's like seeing a whole new person. A stranger. My parents, now in their late 50s, have been together since high school. My dad is a great man, successful, kind, and the best father anyone could ask for. He's the type who'd give you the shirt off his back. But my mom? She's always been the center of attention, the puppet master pulling the strings. Growing up, we were constantly on the edge of financial disaster. My mom would spend money we didn't have on designer handbags, vacations we couldn't afford, and houses that stretched our limits. Yet, my dad would always bend over backward to make her happy, buying whatever she wanted, doing whatever she demanded. And I always thought that was just how relationships worked. He was whipped, and we all joked about it, until I saw it for myself. The tipping point came 4 years ago. I was about to marry my fiancé, and my mom suggested we all take a motorcycle trip together. My dad, my wife, her, and her old co-worker, James. She said James needed to get away because he was going through a tough time with his ex-wife. We all went, and while the weekend was fine, something felt off. There was a weird energy between my mom and James. He was tall, good-looking, rich. Everything you'd expect from someone who could seduce a woman in her 50s. But what really got to me was how he would keep taking pictures of my parents, like he was documenting them. It was creepy. A few weeks after the trip, things started getting even stranger. We went to a concert together. My mom, my fiancé, my sister, and me. It was supposed to be a fun night, but my mom, she was acting like a completely different person. She was smoking pot, downing beers, and just off. Then, she disappeared for almost an hour. Naturally, I went looking for her. When I couldn't find her, I asked my sister if she'd heard from her. Her response? She's probably calling James. That stopped me cold. My sister then dropped a bomb. She and my dad had noticed things over the past few months. My mom was acting suspicious, changing her phone and iPad passwords, taking secret calls, even going as far as putting a jar of rocks on her phone so she'd be alerted if anyone touched it. My dad had already found some cryptic messages from James on her phone, but there was no concrete proof. Yet, I couldn't ignore it. My mom was up to something. When she finally came back, I confronted her. My stomach twisted as I asked, "What took you so long?" She stumbled, saying she ran into some old friends at the concert. But I didn't buy it. I pressed her for names, and after a few stutters, she gave me some ridiculous made-up answers. My wife and sister were watching me, silently, as I grilled her. And in that moment, I could see the cracks in her story. I was disgusted, furious. How could this woman, who I had loved and idolized, be capable of this? The next day, my sister told my dad everything. He demanded to see her phone records. What he found confirmed his worst fear, a 45-minute phone call to James during the concert. But she had an excuse. He was going through a rough time with his ex, and she was just helping him as a friend. But it didn't add up. Not one bit. And so the investigation began. My dad put a tracker on her car, requested call logs, and even considered hiring a private investigator. It all came to a head a month after my wedding, when I went to visit my old college roommate for a weekend of kayaking and fishing by my grandparents' lake house. I called my dad just to chat, and he casually mentioned, "Your mom said she was going to the lake house with her girlfriends, but I doubt she'd be that bold. Just keep an eye out." I didn't give my mom a heads up that I was coming, and when I got to the lake house, my heart sank. There was her car, and another that looked suspiciously like a guy's car. I called my dad, who sounded relieved when I said nothing looked out of the ordinary. But when I knocked on the door and heard nothing, I let myself in through the back patio. The moment I saw a leather motorcycle jacket hanging on the bar stool, I knew it was James's. My blood ran cold. I took a picture of it, then spotted his motorcycle in the garage. I wasn't even thinking clearly anymore. My hands were shaking as I grabbed a phone I didn't recognize and scrolled through the pictures. There they were, James and my mom, kissing each other on the lips. I snapped a few photos, then ran out of the house. I didn't even care about the kayak I had come for. I drove to a quiet street, trying to catch my breath, before calling my sister. I couldn't hold this secret any longer. I had to tell my dad. He deserved to know. My sister agreed, and we both braced for the fallout. When I called my dad and told him, his voice cracked. "No fucking way! God damn it! Wow, son of a bitch!" The shock was palpable, but he thanked me for telling him. We made a plan. My dad, with my uncle, would go up there in secret, take pictures of them together, and confront her. That night, they snuck up to the lake house. My dad hid in the woods with binoculars, watching them, cuddling, kissing, acting like they were an old married couple. My dad, ever the man of control, didn't let his rage get the better of him. He took pictures and left quietly. The next morning, he sent my mom the pictures with a simple text. "I know everything. I'm leaving you." The aftermath was a nightmare. My mom tried to drag everyone into her mess, twisting the situation, turning everyone against each other. But what struck me the most was when she begged my dad to take her back. She dropped James, but my dad, despite all the hurt, agreed. And that moment, seeing the woman I thought was an angel grovel for forgiveness after everything, solidified my disdain for her. I never looked at her the same way again. She had destroyed the illusion of who she was. Now I see her for what she really is, a sociopath, manipulating everyone around her to get what she wants. And I can't stand her for it. She doesn't deserve my dad, and she doesn't deserve our forgiveness, especially since this is twice now, that we know about, that she cheated on my dad. Not sure how to end this. Just wish my mom wasn't such shitbag. I guess I'm thankful these events and my realization didn't happen sooner, otherwise I wouldn't know that there are good women out there, and instead, I'd probably have a hard time trusting them.